My name is Jocelyn McClung, and I am currently a student at Cape Fear Community College in North Carolina. I am here for my communications course to talk about my stances on two topics, which is one, I do not think that race should be an issue when it comes to a child being adopted or the race of the person who's adopting the child. And I believe that safe sex matters should be talked about in the household and not in the public education system. For starters, I would like to say that culture in itself is beyond beautiful. Each culture is like its own mini little planet in which each one has its own morals, traditions, values, the food that they eat, their dialect, their belief system. Each person was raised in a specific culture, and it really helps influence their beliefs and how they carry themselves into adulthood. And culture is also like ice cream, in which each one has its own flavor and uniqueness, but each one is enjoyed by the diversity of our world. For me, I was brought up in a Western culture, and I was also brought up in a Christian household in which I've been taught that sex should be waited for marriage. And U.S. culture has influenced my stance on this in the way that the world is already so consumed by sex, whether it's been TV, pornography, the way that people dress, the symbols that are around the world. Sex is already so worshipped by so many people in the world. It's like actually feels like it needs to be needed in a relationship, but that is not the case. So bringing that into a child, whether they're in elementary school or middle school, that kind of knowledge is not needed yet. They should be able to enjoy their innocence and to play with children. And I think it overstepped the parents' boundaries. I feel like that should be more of the parents' choice on whether they would want their child to be introduced to that in such an early stage of life. In the textbook, DeVito, page 32, it's important to realize that culture influences, it does not determine. So that means that just because you are raised a certain way, it does not mean that you have to keep those same beliefs and the same cultures. You're able to go outside of that and make your own decisions and beliefs based on other things you've experienced. Your culture does not mean that you have to stay that way for your entire life. Righty. And it's actually a fact from Singh and Darroch, written in 1999 in the Mirror, Volume 81, issue number 3, that most American adolescents report that they have had sex by the time they graduate from high school. So I believe that introducing kids to safe sex or sex in general, that would increase that number even more. I feel like kids should be able to keep their innocence and their purity for as long as they can, and that even teen pregnancies would go down if sex would just not be brought into the public school system at all. And as for the matter of adopting a child despite the race of either the parent or the child, I believe that love is the foundation. That is what I've been taught to believe. It's in my faith that every person should be loved and have an abundant life, and that each person, despite their skin color or their race, the love inside them is what matters. And the color of their skin will not stop that person from giving a child the home that they deserve. In the textbook, DeVito, page 30, it says that in the process of bringing two cultures together, acculturation occurs, which happens when one culture is modified or changed through contact or with exposure to another culture. So if one, let's say, for example, a child was white and the adopted parents were black, two cultures would be mixed and they would be able to learn from each other and grow. And acculturation is beautiful in its own sense, that people can become more diverse. And the U.S. culture has influenced me on that stance in the way that the world is diverse in itself, and America is very welcoming and accepting towards different foods, different clothing styles. It's pretty much a non-judgmental atmosphere. And so I feel like every family like that, or at least the most of them, is like that already. So I don't understand why skin color would be an issue now or in the future ever. From a book, actually. It's Adopting Maternity, White Women That Adopt Transracially or Transnationally Other Children, written by Nora Rose Musnick. It says, from a personal... So sorry, my phone paused. But anyways, this is an actual interviewee named Susan, who is a personal woman who has talked about her own experience in adopting a child that is a different race from her own. And she's saying that it's added a lot of happiness and fun and nerves and everything. So I guess instead of saying my life is more complete, I just say my life is fuller, a lot more, and I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. That is a first-person experience that bringing a child of a different race adds so much more color to her life than anything, and that is not a negative thing. Every person should be loved no matter what. If it's what brings the world together, it's what unites the world together. So to conclude, I would just like to make my stance officially clear that safe-sex matters should be talked about in a household, not in the public education system, and that racially, no matter the race of a person, that should not be an issue in an adoption case whatsoever. And I full-heartedly believe in this, and I believe that culture brings color into the grayness of life, and that all of our differences will just make us more beautiful in the end. And every person should be united. So peace, love, and happiness. I apologize for this video taking so long, but thank you all for listening to my beliefs and my opinions. Bye!